Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we got a lot of break updates today. So the first news is coming from North and South Korea, where we've got news that North Korea has announced the closure of its entire land border with South Korea, including all roads and railways, amid escalating tensions. So the DPRK, so North Korea has completely cut off roads and railway links with South Korea as part of its policy of territory demarcation with its southern neighbour. In addition, the country's defense ministry, so North Korea's defense ministry, added that measures will soon be taken to transform the southern border into a fortress. We also got news that we touched about a little bit yesterday that North Korea claims that at least 1.4 million young people, including students and youth leagues officials, have joined the army. So, according to North Korea claims, at least 1.4 million young people have joined or rejoined the army. But South Korea has previously warned that if North Korea inflicts any harm on the safety of South Koreans, that day will be the end of the North Korean regime. So that was stated by South Korea. So North Korea has officially declared South Korea a hostile state too. So very big news, and tensions in the peninsula continue to rise. And the next news is coming from the Russian city of Kazan, where we've got news that Russia is preparing for the BRICS 2024 meeting that's going to be happening on the 22nd to the 24th of October. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we've got some pictures that residents around the Russian city of Kazan have been posting, where the Russian city is gearing up for the BRICS 2024 meeting that's going to be happening very, very soon. So leaders of many countries and representatives of many countries are going to be attending this huge BRICS meeting, and I'll be keeping you updated on that. And now let's go to the Russian Kremlin spokesman, Peskov. So the Russian Kremlin spokesman, Peskov, stated that Zelensky's new peace plan is the same US plan to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. So this was stated by the Kremlin spokesman, Peskov. So while on the topic of Ukraine's victory plan, so I'll just really quickly go over Zelensky's victory plan. So I'll really quickly just go over it. So there's 5 points in total. So the first one is inviting Ukraine to NATO even before the end of the war. The second point is the continuation of operations on Russian territory and lifting of restrictions on strikes on its territory, joint shooting down of Russian aircrafts with partners, expansion of the use of Ukrainian drones and missiles, and access to partners' intelligence. The third point is deployment of non-nuclear deterrent packages on the territory of Ukraine. The fourth point is development of strategic economic potential of Ukraine and strengthening of sanctions against the Russian Federation. And the fifth and last dot point of Zelensky's victory plan is, after the war, the Ukrainian military can use their experience to strengthen the defense of NATO and Europe. The US contingents in Europe can be replaced by Ukrainian military. So Zelensky's fifth dot point is to replace all US military in Europe, it seems, and replace them with more experienced, battle-hardened Ukrainian ones. So this is according to Zelensky. So very interesting news. Zelensky also stated in the Ukrainian parliament that Ukraine is at war with 3 countries. So the first one, obviously, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. So this was stated by Zelensky. We've also gotten some news coming from the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Zelensky's victory plan. So he stated that there are many points that need to be understood. Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, also emphasized that the alliance firmly supports Ukraine and called the plan a powerful signal from the President of Ukraine. So very interesting news. We've also gotten some news that there are some protests in Kyiv right now. So families of missing Ukrainian fighters demand their return. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see families of missing Ukrainian fighters demanding their return. So, as some reports suggest that Ukraine might have entire brigades missing in action or taken prisoner, the soldiers of the family gathered on the Maidan Square. So, very interesting news. So, if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Ukrainians in Kyiv right now are protesting to demand their fighters, missing Ukrainian fighters on their return. So, very interesting news. We've also got some news that Australia will send 49 retired M1A1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine as part of a $245 million military aid package, boosting Ukraine's fight against Russia. This follows the arrival of newer M1A2 tanks in Australia. So the Ukrainian ambassador stated that some of these vehicles may require repairs or be used for parts. So not all of these tanks actually work. So these are retired tanks, but some of them can be used for parts. Some might actually work. And he stated, the Ukrainian ambassador stated, that some of the vehicles may require some repairs. We've also got some more news about military aid packages that President Biden of the US announces more money to Ukraine. So the White House announced $425 million in security assistance to Ukraine. So the Pentagon has published the contents of the new aid package for Ukraine. It includes shells for the NASAMS and the HIMARS systems, missiles for RIM 7s and air defenses, TOW missiles and air-to-ground missiles. There's also ammunition for the Stinger complex and artillery ammunition of 155mm and 105mm calibers, anti-tank systems, javelins and AT-4s, military vehicles and small arms and ammunition for them, and grenades and explosive equipment, spare parts and etc. So, very interesting news. We've also got some news coming from the US that the US stance on restricting Ukraine's use of long-range weapons for strikes deep within Russia remains unchanged and will not change. We've also got some news and some videos published on the front lines in the Zaporozhian region of Russian unmanned ground vehicles with ATGMs performing tasks in the Zaporozhian region. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see this Russian robot performing tasks in the war and the front in the Ukraine. So very interesting news just to see the development of robots in, I guess, war. So very interesting news. We've also got some news coming from the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico. So the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico believes that Ukraine will face a second Munich plot. So the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico believes that Ukraine is waiting for the second Munich of 1938, as a result of which it will lose its territories and become a victim of the great powers. So he's stating that Ukraine will end up like Czechoslovakia did in 1938 and the Munich conference. We've also got some news coming from the Czech Republic that the Czech Republic is aging at an alarming rate. According to the latest data, the average age of the Czech population is 42 years old. Since the year 2000, the nation has aged by 4 years. One of the reasons for this is that people are living to an older age, and even more significant factor is the extremely low birth rate. So in the first half this year, nearly 14,000 more people died than were born in the Czech Republic. The total number was 28,000 for the entire year, marking the worst result in history since the end of the First World War. So, the Czech Republic is aging at an alarming rate, it seems, with extremely low birth rate. So this is coming from some sources in the Czech Republic. We've also got some news coming from the German Chancellor. So the German Chancellor has yet again stated that he is ready to discuss the settlement of Ukrainian conflict with Putin. We've also got some news coming from south of Germany that a potato truck in south of Germany crashes. So a major crash happened on the A9 motorway near Grending, the German city of Grending. and saw a truckload of potatoes scattered across the road after the vehicle skidded and overturned. So several tons of potatoes spilled, causing a complete road closure as rescuers helped and arrived at the scene. So the driver was seriously injured and was airlifted to the hospital. We've also gotten some news coming from the Italian Prime Minister Meloni. So the Italian Prime Minister Meloni says that Italy has imposed a full arms embargo on Israel. So she stated that we have blocked everything. And she also said that this includes blocking all contracts signed after October the 7th, with existing licenses being reviewed on a case-by-case basis to assess any potential risks of military materials being used in the conflict. So Italy has imposed a full arms embargo on Israel. So very interesting news. And now let's head to the Netherlands, where we've got news that the Dutch Ministry of Defence has just announced a decision to purchase up to 46 new Leopard 2A8 tanks, plus 6 optional ones, under a joint programme with Germany. So this delivery will take place between 2027 to 2030. So by 2027 to 2030, the Dutch Ministry of Defence will receive 46 brand new Leopard 2A8 tanks. And the Minister of Defence of the Netherlands also once again emphasised that Ukraine can use F-16 fighter jets transferred by the Netherlands on the territory of Russia for defensive purposes. So once again, the Netherlands has stated that Ukraine can use Dutch F-16s to strike Russia. And the next news is coming from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. So NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has confirmed that Ukraine is set to become NATO's 33rd member. And the next news is coming from Newcastle, where we've got news that a house exploded in Newcastle. So an explosion in a house in the northeast of England, a child was killed and 6 injured. So an explosion at a house in Newcastle killed a 7-year-old boy and 6 other people were hospitalised with injuries. Police said the cause of the explosion is still being investigated, but the photos show that one house destroyed to the ground and neighbouring houses seriously damaged. So very sad news coming from England. Next news is coming from Spain. We've got news that Spain busts chemical firm evading Russia sanctions. So Spanish authorities on Tuesday said they have arrested 4 people suspected of orchestrating a sanctions busting commercial network after intercepting 13 tons of chemical products bound for Russia. So very interesting news. And the next news is coming from Niger. That's the governor of Niger's capital city, Major Colonel Abdurrahmi, announced that streets and monuments bearing French names will be renamed to honor the nation's ancestors. So names and streets and monuments around Niger that have French names will be replaced with Niger names or things that honor the nation's ancestors, stated the governor of Niger's capital. So in the capital of Niger, French names and French monuments will be renamed. So very interesting news. And the next news is coming from some more unfortunate events, and this one is now coming from the north of Nigeria. So the north of Nigeria, a fuel tanker explosion in the north of Nigeria has killed over 100 people and left more than 50 injured. The incident occurred when a tanker overturned and local people attempted to gather spilled fuel were caught in a devastating explosion. So a mass burial site has been held for victims of the tanker explosion in northern Nigeria. The local government officials joined hundreds of mourners in the northern Nigeria on Wednesday for the mass burial of more than 140 victims killed in a devastating tanker explosion. The tragedy occurred in this town here, so this exact town in Jigawa. So very sad news. Now we'll be heading to Egypt, where we've got news that Iran's foreign minister has just arrived in Cairo, Egypt. So this is the first time by an Iranian foreign minister has arrived in Egypt in almost 12 years. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Iranian foreign minister touch down in Egypt and meet the Egyptian foreign minister. So very big news. We've also gotten some sideline news that a dog was actually spotted on one of the pyramids in of Giza. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see a dog actually spotted on the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's not really clear how the dog made it on the top of the ancient monument, or why it scaled the 139-meter high structure, but very interesting news. So a dog was seen on the top of the pyramid of Giza. So I have no clue how he got up there, but very interesting news. We've also gotten some news coming from Gaza that the death toll rises to 42,438 people, approaching 100,000 injured, the health ministry of Gaza stated. So the death toll in Gaza rises to 42,438 people. So this is according to the health ministry of Gaza. We've also gotten some news coming from Israel that the Israeli forces here, if you can see in your bottom left corner, has actually blew up an entire village in southern Lebanon. So it doesn't actually state what village this is, but if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the Israeli forces watching this village get absolutely exploded. So the whole village was exploded and turned to rubble. And we've also got on the latest map of Israel's operation into southern Lebanon. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see this map of southern Lebanon. So this is the Israelis' advancements into southern Lebanon so far. And at its deepest point, Israel has penetrated 4.7 kilometers into Lebanon. So if we were to just measure that to here, so this is 4.7 kilometers into Lebanon. So this just gives us an idea how deep Israeli forces have entered Lebanon. We've also got news that the mayor of this Lebanese city here of Napatea, I think that's how you pronounce it. So the mayor of this village, this village has been killed in an Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon, Sky News Arabia reported. So local media reports that multiple buildings were struck in an Israeli raid. So several people are reported dead, and among the dead is apparently the mayor of this city. And we've got some statistics coming from Lebanon that more than 400,000 children are deprived of education and safety due to this Israel and Lebanese conflict. So in Lebanon today, more than 400,000 children are deprived of access to education and safe living conditions. So this was stated by the UNICEF Middle East and North African representative. So he told this to Sputnik, the news agency. So very sad news. And the next news is coming from the Turkish and Syrian border, where we've got news that two mortar shells landed in Turkey, in the border between Syria and Turkey. So near the Syrian border, two mortar shells from Syria landed in the Turkish city here in Krils. So the Turkish army responded with MLRs and artillery strikes and tank fire. So the Turkish army responded very, very harshly. And the next news is coming from Yemen, where we've got news that the US and the UK has just conducted airstrikes on the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, and the northern provinces in northern Yemen. So the Americans used for the first time the B-2 Spirit bombers. So the US Air Force has launched its first strike on the Houthis using the nuclear capable B-2 Spirit bomber. So very interesting news. We've got no footage of that at this very minute, but maybe in next video we'll get some footage of this airstrike on the Yemeni capital by British and American forces. And we've got some news coming from China that China develops the world's first 6-ton tilt-rotor unmanned aerial vehicle called the Zhangying R6000. So this is it seems to be like a drone. This is a huge Chinese drone by the name of Zhangying R6000. So it can carry 10 passengers and has a maximum takeoff weight of 6 tons and a cruising speed of 550 kilometers an hour and a flight altitude of 7,620 meters. So, and a range of 4,000 kilometers. And the final news today is coming from the US. So, we've gotten some reports coming from Washington that the US Navy EA-18G Growler EW aircraft crashed east of the mountains in Washington today during a routine training flight. So the status of the 2 crew members aboard the aircraft, the jet, remains unknown, but we've got some news that the US Navy has reported to have reported losses and a crash of the US Navy EA-18G Growler EW aircraft. And we've got news that Kamala Harris held an interview with Fox News. And that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-Seen News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.